Never throw out spoiled onions again. I mean, do onions in your pantry often end up to be, on one side turning brown and a little squishy before you use the whole bag? Well, they did for me, and I found a way to reduce my food waste and decrease my food prep time. Now, I love the taste of sweet Vidalia onions, but they have a very short shelf life. And I often would buy, a bigger bag like this. It has 8 onions in it from Sam's Club. And there was no way I used them all up before some of them started to go that brown and squishy. That is, until I started doing this. Hi, I'm Prepper Potpourri, and I have been making videos for over 10 years on how you can save money, how you can extend the shelf life of your food items, and how you can keep your family safe. So if you're interested in such videos, please subscribe, and I always appreciate a thumbs up. Now, of course, you could dehydrate onions to preserve them, but that can fill up your kitchen for a couple days with the smell of onions, and not all family members might like it. So I really buy the big jar here of minced dehydrated onions from Sam's Club and use that when I need it rather than dehydrate from scratch. So what I recommend is freezing, and I use 3 different methods, and I am going to show you each one. And the last method is my favorite. Before I can show you the 3 methods, we have to prepare our onions. And I usually use diced onions, so that's what I'm going to show you. But you can slice them, chop them, however you usually use them. And you can prepare your onions this way. But if you want to try cutting them, you can. Like I said, I have no idea. You're not supposed to cut them all the way through, I think. Okay. And let's go sideways. Okay, so you can do it that way too, just that I find it much easier to use the machine. With a knife, I'm more likely to experience tears, and I'm not very adept like those chefs that you go, that's not me, okay? Instead, I'd probably cut off a finger. So I prefer to use this. This is what I'm preparing most of my onions with. Just taking this, putting it like that, and slamming it like that. And then all of our onions are nice in here. Easy peasy. For uniform pieces, I like this vegetable chopper, Let's see. There it goes. It works really well, and you get all your dices basically about the same shape. And they're contained here in the jar, and you really don't have much tears doing the processing. But if I don't have a lot of onions to use, I use this. I've had this for, probably 30 years. It is a Pampered Chef chopper. But it's pretty expensive on Amazon. I do have a link below, but I also have the link to the OXO chopper, which is more reasonable and similar in design. Or you can just use a food processor. Just make sure you don't process too long so you end up with what I call onion mush. I most often use small dices, so that's what I'm going to show you today. Here are all of the 8 Vidalia onions that were in the bag diced up. So the easiest method is what I call the brick method. So for the brick method, we need a bag. Could be a Ziploc bag, any kind of bag. And we're just going to put the onions in the bag. So here's our bag, and now we're just going to vacuum pack it. Almost sealed. There we go. And now it is sealing the bag itself. There we have it. And don't forget to label it. In this case, it's sweet onions, 12 of 23. And now the whole bag ready to pop in the freezer. But with this method, your onions will form a solid, frozen mass. Next up, the muffin method, which I have to admit is my least favorite method. This method requires silicone muffin pans. Each standard muffin cup will hold 1/2 cup of diced onions. So when the tray is full, pop it in the freezer and freeze overnight. Now the next morning, take it out of the freezer and remove the onions from the cup by pushing on the silicone cup. Once you get them out, bag them and then vacuum pack them or place them in a Ziploc bag, and be sure to label the contents. You can do the same procedure for 1 cup measurements too. I'm just using a silicone custard mold, and I put 1 cup in each of the 3 holes and put it in the freezer again. Next morning, pull it out and push them out of their cups and vacuum pack them. I find this muffin method to be more time consuming than the brick method or the next method I'm going to show you, but it does allow for pre-measured amounts. But as far as I'm concerned, it's thumbs down for this method. My favorite is the tray method. It is so easy and so convenient. So we have some parchment paper on our cookie tray here, and now we're just going to spread out our onion on it. We don't want it too thick because we want it to be more individual so all the pieces don't stick together. Spread it out thinner. Okay, that's pretty good. Now we are going to pop it right into the freezer. Okay, now taking these out of the refreezer, you see, and just break them up. They're all nice and loose and individual. So now we're going to bag them up. Bag down, and then we'll vacuum pack it. So even though it's vacuum packed, when we unseal these will all be individual, so easy to measure out. Now let's compare the brick method and the tray method after freezing for ease of use. So let's cut off the top. Here's coming back in. And now you have individual ones, okay? Seems like a brick, but it's not a brick. This one was our brick. Let's see what happened to it. Yeah, it's still a brick. Unlike the brick method, with the tray method, you can just shake out the frozen pieces of onion into your measuring cups and get the exact amount you need. Let me show you. Some in from the tray. There we go, that's enough. Break these apart and cook them right like that. Now I've just resealed the bag and I'm just going to relabel it, pop it in the freezer, and then whenever I need any, open it up, take out what I need, and reseal it. So now I have a quick breakfast, and I didn't even have to slice up the onions. It's so easy, isn't it? And I believe this tray method is the best method of all 3 to use when you want to preserve your onions in the freezer so you can use them whenever you want. And so using these frozen onions when you're making a recipe means no tears, right? No mascara dripping down your cheeks. And you have what you need to make something quickly. Let's say a great omelet or meatloaf or whatever. You've really saved on prep time. Now, frozen onions can get a bit watery, so they wouldn't be the best to use, in a fresh salad or if you're making pico de gallo. In that case, use fresh onions. But they are great for making loads and loads of recipes. Now, they also won't caramelize well. So again, use fresh onions for that. And you ask, well, how long will they keep in my freezer? Well, up to 6 months before they start losing potency. Although I say if you vacuum seal them, they keep a lot longer with the same flavor. But either way, you can go over the 6-month period. They're fine to use. They just might lose a little bit in potency. So I encourage you, buy your onions in bulk and save money. And then dice them and freeze them. And you'll save precious mealtime prep on a busy evening. So, which method do you prefer? The brick, the tray, or the muffin pan? Comment below. And if you're interested in finding out how to extend the shelf life of some of your baking supplies, watch this.